Hey, yo, shout out to all the haters out there. I know what the haters are going to say. They're going to be like, yo, Rico's wearing that red shirt again, but I did laundry today, man. Get at me. Shout out to the beautiful Kim Jones. She's not here, so I had to do laundry. I feel good. I was headed to, I had a business meeting in South Carolina today. And when I got a business meeting in South Carolina, I don't cross state lines without putting on my war attire. So I put on my Georgia shirt to let them know what I represent. I represent the state of Georgia, not the team. I drove the speed limit on the way to the business meeting. I'm not trying to speed and be a part of the team. I'm just letting you know. So I understand on this particular screen, you can't read the bar down here unless you do this because the letters are red. I don't care. Shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for being here on a Tuesday. Yeah, tearing it up on a Tuesday. We're doing this, okay? Just a reminder. Dana White Contender Series is tonight at 8 p.m. Please be on the Discord server. That's the only place I'm going to be doing it. I'm giving out the picks to the MVPs. I have not made the video. I am behind. I had a lot of stuff take place. I got to watch film. I got to do research. I don't have time to make the video. I apologize. I'm going to try to get it made before the fight start tonight, which means I got to get this show done as soon as possible. So let's get it under wraps. You know, let's get it on the road. Reminder, you want to become a member of this channel. You want to know my picks. You want to make money. You want to do that thing. All you got to do, download Patreon on your phone. Go to the website, patreon.com. Become an MVP. We have about 5,000 members. RicoKnows. You'll see the big letters. Just search RicoKnows. It'll take care of everything else. If you don't want to go the Patreon route, go to YouTube, hit the join button, and you're good to go. Videos are on both platforms. The chart is on both platforms. And you can still connect to the Discord server from both platforms. You do need to get connected. That is the little tricky part. It's not that hard to do. When you're on this page, there's a video at the very top when you get to the homepage if you become a new customer, and it's pinned there, and it's just, you're an MVP, now what? That's what it's called. You're an MVP, now what? And it teaches you how to connect your Patreon account to the Discord server so you can get validated, so you can see all the good stuff. Because if you show up to the Discord, you're like, no, I know what I'm doing, Rico. I'm just going to show up to the Discord. Do that. Just show up. Without connecting the two, you won't be able to see a damn thing. There's so many guys who think they know how this works. They just show up to Discord without connecting their Patreon to Discord, without getting validated. They just show up. They're like, yeah, I've done this before. I got it. And they show up and they go, hey, man, I don't see no pics around here. And then they quit being an MVP. And all I can do is be like, yo, thanks for the donation. You're an idiot. You're a moron. You didn't watch the posted video, the pinned video that explains everything. And then you don't get the updates because I've made changes to the locks chart, and the first place I post the update, Discord. Any injury reports we see, Discord. Anything, Discord. If you want to know the most profitable MVPs out there, the guys who are there week in and week out, day in and day out, it's the MVPs on Discord make more money than the rest of you guys. It's the reality of the situation. And they're always here at these live streams. They are, because they know the deal. That's just the way it is. All right. We're talking about the Big 10 and the MAC today. Before we get into it, let's talk about some injuries. USC tight end Lake McCree. If you watch the game, I had him laddered on yards, and then he comes out with an injury during the game, and it looks like he's done. He's out against Wisconsin and likely beyond. What a shame. Sucks. They don't have any other tight end that's quite as good, so that's terrible for USC. Michael Hawkins will be quarterback number 1 against Auburn. I made a TikTok video about this. I understand people want to blame Jackson Arnold for being substandard. My issue is Oklahoma's problem is their offensive coordinator and the offensive line, not the quarterback. Who gives it? Like, have you ever had a problem and you thought you were going to solve the problem, and then you solved the problem and you didn't get to the root cause? Understand the root cause? You guys ever went to Chuck E. Cheese? I wasn't a kid. We didn't have Chuck E. Cheese where I grew up. We had something called Bubba Bears, but same concept. You go to Chuck E. Cheese, there was this game there. Now, I took my kids to Chuck E. Cheese in the hood. Shout out to Augusta. But we went to the hood, we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and there's this game there, and it's called Whack-A-Mole. It's Whack-A-Mole. And like this little mole comes out of the hole. There's like 8 holes, and you got this hammer, and the moles come out, and you got to hit them. You got to hit them. You got to hit them down and knock them down. Right? So one of these moles pops out the hole, you hit it, he goes down, and another one pops up, you got to hit it. And so many people want to use both hands and cheat and all this stuff. But this is what Oklahoma's doing. Oklahoma is trying to knock all the moles down as they keep popping up. And they got their hammer, and that's their solution. It's like, to solve a problem, they're going to whack-a-mole it. But they're not figuring out what's making the moles come up. They're not figuring out how to stop this problem. It's like if you had a leak in your roof, would you just replace the drywall? Or would you try to figure out where the leak is coming from and ensure that we stop the leak before we replace the drywall? Maybe I'm talking crazy. Maybe you guys don't understand what I'm saying. For me, Oklahoma, replacing quarterbacks doesn't solve the root cause issue. You got to get to the root of it, bro. What's the issue here? Why are both quarterbacks running with their heads cut off? Why can't they sit back, drop in the pocket, and make proper reads? Oh, is it this offensive line? Is it because you built an offensive line from transfers from North Texas and SMU? You picked the wrong players in the transfer portal? What is it? Let me know. Because you didn't solve a damn thing. And if you go change the quarterback, we're going to run into another problem. And another problem. And another problem. You haven't addressed the root cause issue. It's the reality of the situation. Shout out to Michael Hawkins. Good luck. I hope you play great. And watch Michael Hawkins get back Nick Anderson, and then he looks really good. And everybody goes, oh, he's the solution. And you're going, yeah, bro, he just got back one of the best wide receivers in the country. Jackson Arnold doesn't have that. Jackson Arnold made 2 terrible plays that I saw. Intentionally fumbling and giving the ball back to the defense, throwing a pick, giving the ball right back to the defense, and then back-to-back plays right after you get the ball back. It's terrible. And everybody goes, young quarterbacks, you can't make mistakes like that and keep your job. I'm like, really? Is that why Anthony Richardson's still a quarterback? Do you not remember Troy Aikman in 1989? Are we ignoring ECU and Jake Garcia and all the interceptions he's thrown, or Fowler Nicolosi at Colorado State? Like, do we just pretend that he did something unforgivable? Oh, you can't have that. We can't have that. Really? It's just make-believe bullshit. Oh, Rico, I have sources in the Oklahoma program tell me that Hawkins outplayed Jackson Arnold all spring and summer, and they were just waiting for this move because he got outplayed. If you knew anything, if you had any inside source, where were you guys in the fall? Where were you guys when people were making predictions? Where were all these Oklahoma insiders when people were making predictions in the preseason? How hard is it to go, hey, I think Oklahoma is going to eventually start a true freshman in Michael Hawkins? When was that going to come out? When were any of you Nostradamus motherfuckers, when were you guys going to make these predictions? Now all of a sudden, everybody knew, Rico. Everybody knew. You didn't know? Everybody knew. You didn't know? You do. Those types of dudes are the lamest, bro. I never seen a lamer dude than the guy who comes in my comments and goes, oh, we already knew. Anybody who watched football knows this. I got dudes saying, Rico, you don't watch Oklahoma football? Apparently you didn't watch last game. And you didn't watch the game before. And I'm going, dude, I had a watch party on YouTube. I watched the last game with 1,000 people. Click on the live tab on YouTube. I watched the last game with 1,000 people. What is wrong with you guys? I watch every game. Quarterback wasn't the problem. You're facing an elite defensive line. It's going to happen. Jalen Knighton, Rooster, out for the season. Yeah, we know. We're on the 4th game of the year. Doesn't want to play. Been pretending to be injured all year. Lost the starting job to Brashard Smith. So now you say you're injured and you're out for the season and you can get a medical red shirt. The reality is he lost his starting job and he probably wants to find somewhere else to play. That's what we're doing here. We're gaming the system. Week 4, you start seeing stuff like this. Week 4, you start seeing people injured for the season. That's what happens. We're going to week 5. Oh, we can't play 5 games. I got to be injured for the majority of this season. Devin Cargman, out for the season. This is terrible news for Kent State. Kent State, when they started the season, Devin Cargman was named the starting quarterback in the first game of the season. He was given the job over Tommy Yu, last year's starter. I can't say his last name. That's why I say you. Oltowikowski or some shit. Okay, some Polish name. Nonetheless, Devin Kragman, gone. Then, J.D. Sherrod got in the game this week, gone. It's crazy. He was a freshman. Out for the season. Yeah, they're having a terrible season. Let's save some eligibility. So now, Kent State's got to go the whole season with one guy in Tommy Yu, who's not a good quarterback. They're already the worst team in the FBS. They already lost to an FCS team. St. Francis, who just got nearly shut out by EMU this week. I think they might have been shut out or nearly. We're going to go over the box score. Kent State's in a world of hurt. And if you hurt Tommy Yu, they got, I don't know who they got. One of the quarterback coach coming off the bench. Nick McMillan out for the season. Buffalo. You're going to see a lot of injuries out for the season. Tight end Zeke Moore will play versus Wagner. Cool. Jack Turner listed as a co-starter. This is a man who came back from injury. Last year's starter. La Tech. Sonny Cumbie's already going to get fired. Sonny Cumbie's won 4 games out of the last 25. Sonny Cumbie's the worst head coach in America. He does less with more. And now they have this freshman, Evan Bullock, who came off the bench last week. He's third string, came off the bench in the fourth quarter, and he's listed as a co-starter. That's wild to me. They had another dude named Blake. He got injured. Dylan Hayden's going to come back. Will return against Central Florida. I don't think it matters. Quinn Ewers, 50-50 to play week 5. Okay. Louisville running back, Maurice Turner, not on the depth chart. I have to find out why. But this is what's going to happen week 4 to week 5. Teams, players give up on themselves. Teams give up on players. That's what happens. Let's talk about the results from last week. Illinois versus Nebraska. What a great game. We live streamed this game. I'm going to tell you, for the first time in a long time, I was sitting there saying, yep, I was wrong about Dylan Raiola. I think he looks really good. Dylan Raiola looks like a future star. Just completing passes, putting the ball where you need to. He's got that moxie to him. Almost 300 yards passing against really good defensive backs that I know are really good defensive backs. I've evaluated Illinois secondary. It's very good. And he was dicing them up for 300 yards. I like it. A freshman coming out here, 35 attempts. That's a pure passer right there. Good player. Obviously, they found a way to lose, and I'm going to talk about why they lost. You can blame a bunch of other things, but I'm going to blame one thing specifically. And then you have Dante Dowdle here, the Oregon transfer, running really well. I thought Ramir Johnson looked explosive in the few times he touched the ball. They need to figure out a way to get him a little more touches. I understand Dowdle won the running back room, but they got to just get Johnson some carries, some touches, any which way, whether it be in the passing game or the running game. He's a good player. Jamal Banks showed out. That's your Wake Forest transfer. And then Isaiah Nair, complete stud, a freak of nature, 2 touchdowns, doing the damn thing. Yes, they're trying to get Barney involved, the freshman. Jalen Lloyd, the Ferrari. This dude's a beast right here. This is a local kid, stud. I like him a lot. But if we look at Illinois' offense, Luke Altmaier is him. He's a gunslinger, fun to watch, crafty, could run a little bit. Luke Altmaier's out here doing that thing, man. I liked him a lot. Running back-wise, the only guy that really popped on tape for me in this game was Josh McCray. I understand Fagan's the starter, and he gets those chunk yards, and he's fine. He just doesn't flash on tape for me the way McCray does. And McCray's a beast. He's not as big as Fagan, but he's still big. I think he's like 6'1", 230. He's a big running back. Aiden Laufrey's just a good old-school white dude. That's all there is to it. I don't know how else to describe him. And then the stud wide receivers. Pat Bryant, absolute monster. I wish they threw it to him more. He scored on the first drive. I told all the MVPs, bet on his anytime touchdown. This is one of the better players on the field tonight. I believe in Pat Bryant as an NFL player. Like, I think he's good. I think he's great, actually. Zachary Franklin, the UTSA Ole Miss transfer, complete stud. Hope he's not injured. Some issues there. And then they always have a really good tight end. Tanner Arkin, 6'4", 240 type dude. Illinois always got a good tight end. So there you go. All right. A couple fumbles. No big deal. Defensively, I thought they both came out to play. I was really impressed with Sierra Wright's defense. This is a USC transfer. He played really good. And he was in the right position multiple times. No pun intended. I really liked what I saw on tape from him and Sherman, MJ Sherman, the transfer from Georgia. Defensively for Illinois, super impressed with their defensive front. They look strong. You couldn't blow them off the ball. They were there. Got a number of sacks from just whipping the dude in front of them. Just straight beast, bro. Shout out to Xavier Scott for playing a great game, and Torrey Cox with one epic interception. Torrey Cox with an epic interception. Really. Is insane. All right. why they lost this game. They got a field goal kicker, freshman. His name is John Hull. John Hull went to Iowa Western last year, JUCO, and I don't even know if he kicked any field goals while he was there. He redshirted. So I don't even know if he played, but he redshirted last year at the JUCO. And then he went to a kicking camp, and they said he was one of the best of the kicking camp. He got 2 offers, Coastal Carolina and Nebraska. And he went with Nebraska. I think this kid is a liability in the kicking game. I don't know if that's how it works with kickers, like you just go to a camp and they believe in you. But I think he's not built for the moment. I think he sucks. I mean, sucks is a strong word. I went to go watch his huddle film, and I'm like, okay, if we have a kicker at the Division I level, I should see an amazing huddle film. Bro made 3 field goals in high school. 3 field goals in high school. That's why he had to go the JUCO route. Now, maybe he's got an epic leg in practice and all this stuff, but I just want kickers who've made field goals. Not 3 in high school and then redshirted at a JUCO, and now you're the starting kicker at Nebraska. And this is why you end up in overtime. I don't like it, man. I don't like it. Nebraska's got a terrible kicker. And that's going to hurt you. This is the kid right here. I don't mean to put your face on a video, but I call it like I see it. I understand he's a local kid. Ohio State, I was mad. I wasn't watching this game when it was happening. I was live streaming other games, so I went back to watch this game. I actually watched it on Sunday. And I just assumed Ohio State played a bad game because they didn't cover the spread. They tell me Stone Earl was moving. The MVPs are so dramatic. When we bet against something and something goes wrong, the MVPs are so dramatic on the Discord server. Hey, Stone Earl's dicing them up. He's, hey, Rico, why didn't you predict this? You know, whatever they're saying. They're just ridiculous. And I got to remember they're emotional with their money. They're emotional with their decisions. And I'm just sitting over here. I'm emotionless, right? I'm just like, oh, there's a loss. All right, knock it out. Put it on the loss column. We got to keep picking. Shoot or shoot, man. You guys ever been to a nightclub? You ever been to a nightclub and you had to ask a girl to dance? And you saw this fine-ass girl from across the dance floor? Like, I'm a dancer. I saw this girl from across the dance floor. I walk over to her. I got to walk across the whole floor. Everybody's watching me. I'm walking across the floor to go ask this girl to dance. I don't wait till it gets too full. I don't wait till it's packed. I don't wait for none of that shit. I don't need to get drunk before I go dance. I could dance. I walk up to the girl. Hi, how you doing? Would you like to dance? Oh, no, thank you. It's a girls' night, and I'm not going to dance with any guys tonight. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. I say, hey, by the way, you know why it's a girls' night out? Because if you knew me, it's because you don't know me. Because if you knew me, you would never go out with your girls. You would go out with me. That's unfortunate. Well, you guys be safe. Have a good night. I'm going to walk away. And I walk away with my pride in my hand, bro. And it hurts. And everybody sees me, and I'm like, fuck, now I got to go buy a drink. No. I don't go down and out. I'm not like the rest of you guys. I just keep asking and just keep asking and keep asking. And when I finally hit, boom, got one. We get on the floor and we start dancing. And then I look at all the other girls who turned me down and I just go, hey, you could have had this. You could have been with me. I'm the best dancer in this club. You blew it. You had no clue. That's how I feel about the picks. That's how I feel about the picks. I be making picks. If they miss, I'm like, all right, well, that one missed. Well, that one missed. MVPs be mad. Dudes be quitting. Dudes be canceling. You paid for a whole month. They quit after like one game. I'm out of here. This guy don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's not 100%. This guy told me these were locks. I'm like, yo, the locks are hitting at 61%, guys. Be careful. Don't parlay them. I say all the same things I say in every video. And the dudes will be like, it'll be Saturday morning. It'll be 1 p.m. This game start at noon Eastern. 1 p.m. Homies will be in the DM. You told me this was a lock. I just lost all my... I'm out of here. I'm just like, bro, you should be betting in units, and you should have 100 units. You can miss 10 times this weekend and still be fine. If you know how to manage your money. I can't manage it for you. Nonetheless, we missed on this pick, so I thought, oh, man, I missed because Ohio State didn't cover the spread. They probably played a bad game. Let me go watch it. Bro, this was an impressive game by Ohio State. Oh, my goodness. They held these dudes to 139 passing yards. 139 passing yards. And they got chunks of yards. Both starting running backs averaging over 12 yards a carry in this game. That's crazy, bro. Chunks of yards, doing whatever they wanted to do. Devin Brown still sucks. There was a speed advantage here Ohio State receivers are running everywhere and just outrunning people. The yak was insane, and you just couldn't catch him. The only guy on Marshall that's any good, and I'm going to talk about it later in the week, so I don't want to get into it, is A.J. Turner. He looks so good to me. I like this A.J. Turner dude. He looks so good to me. No Diddy, no baby oil, but I'm just letting you know. Defensively, I thought they played great. I thought they played dominant. Shout out to Josh Moten. If you guys don't know Josh Moten, he's a Texas A&M transfer. This is a young man right here. Got arrested, I think, 3 times in a 9-month period, and he got kicked out of A&M. Then he transfers to Marshall, gets a second chance. He's been there now 2 seasons. I haven't heard any problems. I'm hoping he made the best of his situation. He's probably one of the better players at Marshall. Probably belongs at a Power 5 school. But he's verified character concerns. So it's just nice to see him statistically play good. I've seen him a couple times now on tape this season. He's looked good. So he's a good player. Josh Moten up here. And, yeah, I'm just glad he's keeping his nose clean. Penn State, Kent State. Like I said, Kent State down to Tommy Yu as their only quarterback. There's Tommy Yu down here, 0 for 6, couldn't complete a pass. This dude sucks, man. They're terrible. They're terrible. They need to fire everybody. They hired the wrong guy. They miss Sean Lewis like you wouldn't believe. This is like being married to a good woman and she leaves you for somebody else, and then you try to find a replacement, and your next wife is the worst. Just the worst. Have you ever seen a guy downgrade? He was married to a nice-looking girl, a good woman, whatever, and then the next one was like, looked like she hit every fugly branch, maybe 40, 60, 80 pounds overweight, smells like bologna when she walks by with a mixture of BO. Like, this is what it is right here. Kent State just married the wrong person. They're just in a relationship with the wrong coach, man. I'm being serious. They got a terrible team. They look ill-prepared every week. They couldn't do anything. And then Penn State, looking like monsters. Penn State found receivers they can believe in, explosive guys. Drew Allard has another great game against a scrub team, but he's been looking pretty proficient this year. Just a different type of Drew Allard. And I've never been you guys know me. I'm not a Drew Allard guy. But it's really about Omari Evans and Liam Clifford. Liam Clifford, good old American white boy. Good old white boy right there. He can date my daughter, right? Liam Clifford's pretty good. Julian Fleming. They just coming together, man. Coming together, doing great. And it's not hard to do that against Kent State, who absolutely sucks. And that's why I'm not too impressed when Tennessee beat them by 70. I'm like, yeah, everybody can beat them. Michigan, USC. I'm seeing a narrative out there that USC's not a top 25 team or they're not very good. Understand, USC offensive line couldn't handle Michigan's front, but I don't think there's a team out there that can handle Michigan's front outside of, I guess Texas did, but I don't think there's that many teams that can handle that front. Miller Moss still played pretty decent. You just have to stop throwing it 51 times in a game. You have to have a semblance of a run game, and they didn't. I don't believe this 7 yards a carry nonsense. It wasn't there like that, and they couldn't consistently run the ball. Yes, they have professional wide receivers that I believe in. They have a really good team and all this stuff. They only lost this game because of a fluke pick six. Fluke pick six. If I can describe Michigan for you, obviously I told all the MVPs bet on Alex Orji's under. I knew he wasn't going to throw for 173 yards. Prize Picks had him at 173. I fucking sent out an all-points bulletin to the MVPs on the Discord server and Patreon, and I'm like, whatever you do, whatever your parlay is today, add Alex Orji under to any of your parlays. Just add it to any of your and MVPs did. And I got thanked profusely. Like they thanked me all day long. Oh my God, Rico, how'd you know? Bro, because Alex Orji's not a real quarterback. Alex Orji's not a quarterback. I've told everybody this for 2 years. Everybody hyped him up last year because quarterback one went out and made a video on him, and I was like, guys, you got the wrong dude. I'm just letting you know. You got the wrong guy. Alex Orji sucks. Michigan, if I can describe them after watching it for, I've watched them now for 4 games. Michigan is Iowa. Michigan is Iowa from the last 2 years. Michigan has an elite defense with no offensive ability to throw the ball, but they can run. They got a mean offensive line, and they can run, and eventually they'll break you down. But that defense is how they're going to win games. That's exactly what Iowa's been for the last 2 years. Michigan is a better version of Iowa. They have better talented players. They have a better concept. They understand what they're doing. Better defensive coordinator. Wink Martindale's not bad. He knows what he's doing. That's all it is. Michigan is Iowa, and that's their formula for winning this year. And as long as they stick to it, they're going to be great. And USC, well, I thought they played good enough to win this game, and they didn't win it. You need to understand that. They played good enough to win this game, and they didn't win it. And the reality is they allowed 290 yards rushing. That's a big number. They couldn't stop Mullins on first contact. They couldn't catch him from behind. 2 guys won this game for Michigan. And then obviously the front 7. But yeah, the big names came out to play this game. All the stars showed up. I'm going to say that right now. All the stars showed up. Zachariah Branch had a great game. Played as good as he could, right? Every NFL prospect on this defense, Mason Graham, Quentin Johnson, Ernest Hossman, like Josiah Stewart, Coastal Carolina transfer from 2 years ago. Everybody played amazing. Will Johnson, pick 6. Everybody played and did their thing. This is a great play. This is a great competitive game. That's why they were hugging after the game. They respected one another. It was a really good game. It's unfortunate somebody had to lose. But don't tell me USC's not top 25 because of this right here. No. That means you think there are 25 teams that could do this to Michigan. Be leading in the fourth quarter with Michigan. Nah, you guys don't know what you're talking about. LSU, hey, that's a team that lost to USC. Did not look good in this game against UCLA. UCLA looked like they had a pulse. They were tied at halftime. UCLA was able to finally be competitive in the game. They still can't run the ball, which is so surprising to me because you have Spencer Holstage there. Great lineman, transferred 2 years ago from Purdue, came back for his final year instead of going to the NFL. They have players, man, and they still can't put it together. I just think Deshaun Foster is learning how to be a head coach. And obviously, LSU has a head coach who's done it for a long time. So you know how to prepare your team better, know how to work to your advantages in what you're doing. But my goodness, does LSU suck. UCLA's not putting up points like that on anybody else, and they put up 17 in the first half. 17 in the first half. LSU better figure it out. Watching the tape, oh, you guys already know the deal. Harold Perkins Jr. out for the whole season. So now you got to find a new leader on defense. It's not a good thing. Harold Perkins, somebody wrote to me, hey, this is a good thing. Now we can get other players involved and we can try a different scheme and all. Shut up, dude. When your defense loses a dynamic player like that, when you lose an NFL caliber player on your side of the ball, you don't get better. You don't improve. Stop trying to sell that narrative to me, and don't send me any anecdotes. Don't send me any one-offs, any anomalies when it's happened at some point in history. Please don't do that. Just leave me alone. Speaking of dominance, Indiana, I posted multiple videos on this on TikTok and Twitter. I predicted Indiana was going to win 9 to 10 games in the preseason. It was like March or April. I started talking, and I started just screaming, you sell your car. Vegas has Indiana at 5.5 wins, and I know Indiana's going to win more than 6 games. So all Indiana has to do is win 6 games for me to win the bet. I'm sending Kim to Virginia to make her bet. I'm screaming at everybody. Indiana is going to be a dominant team. And the reason Indiana is so good, I'll say it till I'm blue in the face, is because they signed starters out of the transfer portal. All conference players out of the transfer portal. They did not sign Power 5 recruiting misses. That's what Florida State signed. Florida State signed nothing but backups. A backup wide receiver from Alabama, a backup running back from Alabama, a backup running back from Indiana. And then they try to convince themselves these guys are better than the players we have. A backup safety from Miami. And they went around telling themselves, we got a good recruiting class. We got a good transfer portal class. No, you don't. Not when Indiana went out and got Curtis Rourke from Ohio, who's an absolute monster. They got Justice Ellison from Wake Forest. Starting running backs, Kalen Black and Lawton from JMU. Elijah Green from North Carolina. Elijah Surratt, 1,000-yard receiver from JMU. Miles Cross, I think he came from Ohio. I believe. Forgot where Cooper came from. Aiden Fisher, JMU, Sean Osbury. And when we're talking like 100 tackles, like Sean Osbury here came from ODU. Look at this. This is my hidden gem this offseason for Indiana. Look at this. When you recruit a guy from the transfer portal and he had 95 tackles last season, that means he does this shit on Saturdays. 100 tackles in a season, he does this on Saturdays. And you guys want to talk about, On 3 wants to talk about Earl Little Jr. Boy, he's a former 5-star, and he's transferring out of here. And what the fuck? What are you talking about? Oh, Rico, well, UTSA got an amazing corner, Denver Harris. What? You keep talking about players who aren't better than players who play on Saturday. But when I look at this team, Indiana went out and got Aiden Fisher. How did Fisher do last year? How many 108 tackles last year. What are we doing? They went out and recruited players out of the transfer portal. 108 tackles. 95 tackles. Let's keep going. There's Jalen Walker. What did Jalen Walker do last year? 61 tackles, 59 tackles, back-to-back seasons. CJ West do last year. 40 tackles, defensive tackle. He's had sacks every year. He's been starting for 3 years at West Virginia. Kent State. Kamara. Last year, 51 tackles, 7.5 sacks. They're not getting edge rushers like Tommy Waduraje and making them third string. They're getting guys that had 7.5 sacks last year. Do you know that man, he knows how to beat a tackle? He's got 7.5 sacks in a season. He hit the transfer portal, and now he's already got 3. Watch him. They're amazing. D'Angelo Pons. I remember Colorado didn't want D'Angelo Pons. Oh, he's too small, Rico. He's too small. He's a freshman All-American. 12 passes deflected. Do you understand double-digit passes deflected makes me turn on the tape on you? It puts you on my draft board. As a freshman, 12 passes deflected. It's a Florida kid with amazing speed. These guys went out and got actual football players and put them all on a team. Indiana is an all-star team of group of 5 players. That's what they are. They're an all-star team of group of 5 players. Sedarius Das. This is an FCS All-American from Austin Peay. 7 passes deflected, 3 interceptions. We're not getting corners who never played football. We're not playing that shit. Indiana's so loaded. I respect them so much. They have an amazing team. Miles Price, complete stud. I need you guys to understand. If you're transferring from Texas Tech to Indiana, understand how great you are. Because Texas Tech wide receiver room is absolutely loaded. Absolute. Dre McCray cannot see the field at Texas Tech, and he's a 1,000-yard rusher from the 1,000-yard receiver from the FCS. Whoever's starting at Texas Tech are some of the best wide receivers in America, and nobody's paying attention. And that was a receiver who was starting at Texas Tech, and here he is at Indiana. Starters, absolute monsters. Talent-wise, this team is loaded. How good is Justice Ellison? Do you guys understand how good he is? If you go back and you go look at his stats, forget the yards per carry that he's been averaging. Forget all that. Just go to Wake and just click on 2022 Wake. You go to stats and you go look at 2022 Wake. Not 23, 2022. Do you see that Justice Ellison is the starting running back for Wake Forest back in 2022? Look at the third string running back. It's Quentin Cooley, bro. Quentin Cooley. A 1,400-yard rusher, 16 touchdown guy can't fuck with Justice Ellison. That's how many levels there is to this. He made Quentin Cooley a third-string running back. That's a 1,400-yard rusher. The leader at Liberty couldn't even start at Indiana right now. Couldn't mess with the Indiana running back room because Justice Ellison is him. Indiana's amazing. And I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of myself for sitting down and actually studying their roster and seeing what it is. Maryland. Finding a way to beat Villanova. Not impressed with this game. Villanova does a backdoor cover. Maryland still has nobody else to move this ball. Hemby's not impressing me on tape. I believe the freshman Nolan Ray is a little more explosive. They're giving seniority here to Hemby, but Nolan Ray has more upside. And then receiver, Ty Felton is the only guy that could do this week in and week out. They're doing nothing else. He's the only guy getting all these stats. He's leading the country in everything, I think. In everything. He already has, look at these numbers. Look at this. 4 games. He hasn't had less than 100 yards receiving in 4 games. The targets are getting outrageous. 14 receptions this time around. Could you imagine if I told you his first game of the season, 7 receptions, 178 yards, 2 touchdowns, and I went, oh, yeah, he's going to get more receptions than that every single game moving forward. That's going to be his low. They just keep throwing it to this guy. He scored a touchdown in every game. He's open every play. That's all they got, man. And he's just winning. He can even find, you see the film here? I don't want to zoom in on it because I don't want a copyright violation. But he doesn't hear footsteps. That's against a cover 2. When you get an outside release on a cover 2, it makes it really hard for that quarterback to hit the cover 2 pocket. Above the corner, before the safety, there's this little window your quarterback's got to hit. So what corners are supposed to do is reroute you and ride you out. And if you're lucky, a corner will rewrite you and ride you out of bounds. And if he jams you hard enough and rides you out of bounds, then you end up ineligible. So my whole goal as a corner was to jam you and drive you out of bounds. Now I don't have to worry about you anymore. You can go hit that window all you want. I don't have to worry about you. Unless coach called a cover 2 match, and then I got to turn and run with you if I have no threat to my flats. If people don't understand what's happening here is Ty Felton is beating coverages that are designed to stop him. He's beating them. But they're going against Indiana. And Indiana has corners I love. D'Angelo Pons, Doss. Indiana has corners I love. Yes, they're smaller than Felton. Felton's 6'2". We'll figure it out. Speaking of figuring it out, Virginia Tech needs to figure it out. They lose to Rutgers. I'll just say that Tootin wasn't supposed to play in this game. He ends up playing, and he balled out of control. They don't give him enough carries. 15 touches is not enough for a guy that gets 8 yards a carry in this game. You got to give him more. They're getting Ollie Jennings back this week. We'll see what happens. Defensively, not enough pressure on the quarterback for me. Only 3 sacks. I want to see 5 every single week from these guys. They have such an amazing pass rush. They went out and got great players in the transfer portal. They need to put them in position to be great. Antoine Powell-Ryland had 9 sacks last year, 9.5. And he made it look like Florida was starting the wrong players. Remember, he was at Florida on the bench. Transfer to Virginia Tech, you get 9.5 sacks. This year, he's regressed, and he looks like a guy who belongs on the bench at Florida. That's what he looks like. And that's not good. You need to be hungry. Aeneas Peebles, complete stud, Duke transfer. I want to see him be hungry. I want these guys to make plays. Sam Brumfield. Everybody needs to make plays. You can't be losing to Rutgers. And they did. Washington looked good, but my goodness, does Northwestern suck. I watched this game today. Northwestern has the audacity to start Jack Lausch in this game. Jack has 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Just terrible. Completed 8 passes for 27 on 27 attempts. That's some Anthony Richardson shit. But what's worse is Northwestern couldn't even find the end zone, and they had a kickoff return for like 96 yards. Seriously, where is it? 96-yard kickoff return, and they still didn't get a touchdown. They still didn't score. Xander Mueller's a good player, good linebacker. He really is. He's fun to watch. He's a senior Latin dude, been on the team a while, makes all the plays. Henning is the only semblance of receiver. Doesn't even matter who the receivers are. Like, I like Bryce Kurtz. I think Bryce Kurtz is a good receiver. Doesn't matter. Not going to get him the ball. They got no quarterback. This is the worst team by a mile. Remember I told you guys this was going to be a bad team in the Big Ten? And they're going to regress, and then they go out and win week 1, and they beat Miami of Ohio, and everybody's like, Rico, you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I do. It just took a couple weeks. My predictions come true. It just takes a couple weeks. They're the worst team I've seen. Worst team. Bad. They're stout on defense, but, dude, they got diced up by Will Rogers. Will Rogers was dicing Willin and Dylan, and Will Rogers has been playing lights out. He really has. Of course, he fumbled in this game, but he's been playing lights out. And Washington's got a little juice to them. I might trust them a little more than you think. I know they lost to Washington State, but my goodness. Minnesota, nothing. Don't even talk to me, Minnesota. Don't talk to me. You give up 272 yards rushing. You get out, it's crazy. Caleb Johnson, 21 carries over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. You know they're not throwing. Cade McNamara has 62 yards passing. You know they're not throwing. They can't throw. Cade McNamara sucks. And you can't stack the box and stop the run? What do you do in practice every day? What does your defense do in practice every day? Don't they stop the run? Just curious. Max Brosmer had to throw it more this game. That's never good. 2 interceptions. He's been terrible all season. Spencer gets his touchdown. I've been talking about Elijah Spencer every single week. They hit Daniel Jackson when they could. But this defense just got worn the hell out, and by the second half, this thing was over. And that's just it. They were up at halftime. Minnesota was up at halftime, 14-7. Second half comes out. They just said, we're going to do some Iowa shit and run the ball every play until you guys can stop us. And you can't. And shout out to Rise Dakin. This is an Australian kid. He actually follows me on Twitter. He's a great punter. And it's significant, guys. The difference in yardage. They can flip the field. Dakin's the dude. Great stuff to replace a legend. And you show up. Speaking of replacing a legend, I don't think there was one in this game. Aiden Childs throws 3 interceptions, loses the game for Michigan State. Michigan State had serious injuries at wide receiver. I don't know why they're throwing so much. 35 attempts is dumb. 35 attempts is never going to win you the game. Not when you have dominant running backs. Although Lynch Adams put it on the ground, I don't think there's a running back contest anymore. There just isn't. Nate Carter, 9 carries, 9 yards, inexcusable. And then Lynch Adams is actually giving them a pulse in the running game. But he fumbled. So, Receivers, they got nobody. Everybody was injured this week. Isaiah Johnson is a freshman, came out to play again for the second week in a row, looking pretty decent. He actually did, but everybody else was hurt. And that's when you show up undermanned, you're going to lose. Even when another team only completes 10 passes. Even when another team doesn't look great, you're still going to lose. Trayshawn Ward got what he needed. It's unfortunate they were fumbling. And it's just one of these things where somebody had to lose this game or somebody had to win it. But you can't win the game when you throw 3 interceptions. You just can't. It's not realistic, man. And it's not worth it. I could understand if you threw 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. But no touchdowns? Why do we keep throwing it? Who are we throwing to? Who are we throwing to? Get the ball to your best players. This is bad. Oregon State beating Purdue. Speaking of bad. Talk about regression. First game of the season, Hudson Card played out of his mind. And every week since, he's played like he's a straight liability. It's looking bad. They even ran the ball really well in this game. Devin Mockabee, 10 yards a carry, looked good. Devin Mockabee looked good. I know he broke for 63. But that still left him with 15 more carries to get 100 yards. And he did it. So Devin Mockabee played his ass off. Reggie Love was fine. Everybody was good. But you give up 341 yards rushing. You make Anthony Hankerson look like he can just grind out a game. That's not a grind out the game kind of running back. St. Thomas Aquinas, Colorado transfer. He's not the guy that you just keep handing the ball off to so he can win the game for you. And that's exactly what they did. Javon McCoy's not throwing to anybody. This is just a grind it out, beat you up, just identity game. And Oregon State's identity is we're going to be mean. And you're not going to like it. And Dylan Thieneman is my guy. He leads the team in tackles every year, all this stuff. You know, he's had a great freshman year. I think he's an NFL safety. They got him returning punts. Stop it, bro. Come on. This is a white safety. He shouldn't be returning punts. He shouldn't. Give me somebody, or give me some talent, man. Find me the speedster. Do something. They're just missing pieces and parts of things. I don't know. Purdue's going to be bad. Their claim to fame is supposed to be defense. Ryan Walters, defense coordinator from Illinois. They get ran over. All right, let's talk about this, and then I'll get to the chat. If you're watching on TikTok right now, move over to YouTube and ask the question. Looking at the matchups, Washington and Rutgers. The game intrigues me. It's not on the board yet, but the line is Rutgers 2.5 favorite, and I just don't see. I don't think that that's real. I actually think Washington should win this game money line. I think Washington's a better team money line, at least from what I've seen so far this year. Minnesota, Michigan, won't talk about it, MVP level lock. Maryland and Indiana, MVP level lock. Nebraska at Purdue, MVP level lock. Wisconsin at USC, took it off the board. Now I can talk about it. I don't think USC is going to cover that spread. I know Wisconsin's down to Braden Locke as a quarterback, as their starting quarterback, and it looks bad at Wisconsin. It really does. But I don't think USC is going to cover that spread. 15.5 points. I think Wisconsin might lose by 14. So it's not on the board. It's not on the chart, but that's how I feel about it. Ohio State, Michigan State. I think that's a lot of points for Ohio State to beat Michigan State. 24? It's a lot of points. I understand Michigan State has no ability to throw the ball. They're going to throw picks if they try to pass it in this game. Ohio State's probably going to cover that spread. Probably. I might bet the over on that. Illinois, Penn State. It's an MVP level lock. Oregon and UCLA. Oregon should cover the spread against UCLA. UCLA's bad. Oregon better be good and figure it out. It is a late night game. You can bet the spread and go to bed on that one. So before I get to the MAC and talk about the results in the MAC, I'm going to go to the chat. Thanks for being here tonight, guys. I appreciate everybody. Remember, we have Dana White Contender Series tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. David in Arizona says, good afternoon, Rico. I wanted to give a shout-out to Keona Davis, a local Tucson kid. He's a freshman at Nebraska getting in the rotation. There we go. Shout out to you, David. Thank you for letting me know. Gabe. Shout out to Gabe. Gabe Card Stacks. He got a new logo, got a new emblem and everything. Not just gamblers who are MVPs. We're making money off trading cards over here. If you guys don't know, Gabe actually buys and sells trading cards. And he uses my videos and my information to accurately identify and project which players he should invest in. So if I name a player and they're on the card market and he starts thinking they're pretty good, he jumps on it and he goes out and makes his money and he gets on guys early. And then he can sell them, and he's playing like the stock market almost, right? So shout out to him. If you're interested in collecting cards and buying cards, you should probably follow Gabe on Twitter and probably reach out to him on YouTube or Twitter. I don't know, but that guy's always pushing out cards on eBay. DA says, these Oklahoma fanboys hyped up Arnold like he was the next Johnny Manziel, and now it's, well, Hawkins was way better in fall practice. Exactly. I don't know how Devin Brown is still the backup. Julian saying is him. So it's pretty simple. When you're a freshman, you're not going to pass. You shouldn't pass some of the other guys already in the program. They know the system. They know the evaluation. Julian Sayin is only as good as his arm talent's going to take him. It's not like he'll be in the games. Let him rest. Let him get his eligibility. Let him save his eligibility, whatever, and there we go. Coach Lightwork, what up, Q? Good to see you, man. He says, we are terrible. He's talking about Kent State. He is an alumnus from Kent State. Alumni from Kent State, the worst team in America, for sure. Don says, Indiana should wax Maryland. Should. Ty Felton, wide receiver from Maryland, is a hidden gem that doesn't get talked about a lot. LaWayne Harris, I talk about him every week. I don't know what to say. I talk about him every week. Ty Owens says, Denver Harris mentioned. Shout out to Ty Owens. I believe he's a ULM fan. And obviously, in that Houston area, Denver Harris is a star. To me, Lord Lightskin says, hey, Rico, I just became a Patreon MVP. Can't wait to make this money. Yes, you can, Lord Lightskin. We're going to make some tonight if you're ready. Dana White Contender Series. Yeah, I remember on Twitter that Colorado staff member saying they didn't want Pons because they wanted size. Crazy. Yeah, so you're talking about the recruiting coordinator, Devin Rispris. And I've talked to Devin on the phone, and after, some discussions, he blocked me. He couldn't handle it. Because I just said I didn't think he was qualified for his job. I didn't think he was qualified to be a Colorado recruiting coordinator. This is a guy who recruited at FAMU and built the roster at FAMU. And I think that's cool and everything. That should probably get you a chance at a better FCS team or a group of 5 team. Like FIU should be interested in you, or FAU, maybe South Florida. I don't know. So, but to go all the way to the Power 5, having never done the job, I didn't like the hire. That's what I let it be known. And then you see him make public statements like that. Oh, we don't want D'Angelo Pons. That's a freshman All-American who plays on Saturdays and does well. We don't want him. Okay, bro. You're out of control. Rico, are you going to throw shade at Anthony Richardson every chance you get? But it's true, he can't throw the ball to anyone. So Gary Clark, the reality is like people will write to me and be like, you just got to give him time. He's young. He's going to get better and all this. And I'm like, dude, this ain't baseball. This ain't basketball. Your age is irrelevant. Can you play football? Yes or no? Are you worthy of being the 4th overall pick? Yes or no? We don't take projects at 4th overall. We take franchise players at 4th overall. Well, so-and-so was bad. Peyton Manning wasn't any good as a rookie. Peyton Manning was an exceptional college quarterback. Peyton Manning was so good in college that he became the number 1 pick over Ryan Leaf. Anthony Richardson was never good in college. He's never been good. I don't need to hear about Josh Allen. I can tell you, do you know how many quarterbacks who have never been good in college were drafted and became good in the NFL? I'll wait. I can tell you how many were terrible in college, never made it in the NFL. I can tell you how many. It's thousands. These guys don't understand. And then they're like, well, look, he has a cannon for an arm. He runs a 4.3 40, and he's an exceptional athlete, the greatest athlete we've ever seen try to play quarterback in the combine. And I'm like, bro, that is equivalent to saying, have you guys ever seen that game at maybe it's at Dave and Buster's? That punching bag game where there's like a hanging punching bag and you got to punch it for power. You guys have seen that game, right? Let's say you see a guy go play that game and he punches the hell out of it and he breaks the record and he punches it for 999 score. And then somebody walks up and goes, hey, he should be an MMA fighter. He punches hard. What? That's exactly what we're saying when we talk about Anthony Richardson. Oh my God, he throws the ball so hard and so fast. What? Does he know how to manage the play clock? Does he know how to audible? Can he read the defenses, pre-snap read during the play? Can he go through progression reads when passing? Does he know the difference between a touch pass and threading the needle? Can he do a layered throw over the secondary or over the linebackers before the secondary? They don't know what they're talking about, man. They don't know what they're talking about. Trust me, the hardest thing for a quarterback is managing that play clock. They always run out of time. Delay a game. Got to call timeout. You know why? Because they're overwhelmed with what's happening. They can't process it in that moment. It got nothing to do with lacing the ball. You know how many people could throw a football? I could throw a football right now. Beautifully. I might just go buy a football tomorrow just to prove it to you guys and make a video of me just throwing fucking 30-yard lasers. 40-yard lasers. I've been throwing football my whole life. I throw just as good as anybody else out there. That's not what playing quarterback is about. It's about managing everything on the field. I don't want to hear your oh shit button because you can run and catch the corner from the defense. Dude, that's what a wide receiver does. Give me an end around. I don't like it. Don't like it. Aiden Childs is too busy being on Twitter and social media telling people to bet the over since week 1. Shout out to you, Carly Jenkins. Do you think IU can be able to deal with Ty Felton this week? Matthew Lundy, any of those matchups that you're talking about, prediction-wise, you need to become an MVP on Patreon. I've already talked about the game. For the MVPs, I would never give that away for free. Thoughts on Jonah Coleman over 63.5 rushing yards this week? Who's Washington playing again? Tell me who Washington's playing again. I just brain dumped it right now while I'm sitting here. Washington is playing. Who is it? Let me know. EMU should beat Kent State by 20, hopefully. Feel like Indiana's head coach could easily outcoach Loxley, of course. It's interesting seeing Pac-12 teams play Big 10 teams. When it's all said and done, which offense do you think will fare better against Michigan, USC or Oregon? USC or Oregon? USC. USC. That Nebraska kicker likely has a family connection to the Nebraska football team because that has to be the only way he got an offer because, like you said, he is terrible. Thank you very much, Offer. He is. Can UCLA right the ship in the Big Ten? I honestly struggled thinking about the last time UCLA was consistently good. UCLA was consistently good sometime in the 2000s at one point in the 2010-ish time frame. When they had Deshaun Foster and Maurice Jones-Drew and all them, they were consistently good. Mercedes Lewis, they were actually pretty good at that point. And then before that, they were good with Cade McNown and Skip Hicks. So it's been a little bit. That was mid-90s. That's when they were the last time they were consistently good. Do I think they can right the ship yeah, they can. I mean, money solves everything. Money solves everything. If they get enough money and they get enough NIL, they can handle it. They're doing great recruiting-wise. They're doing great. Lord Lightskin is the Dana White Contender Series picks already on Patreon. No, they are not. I did not post them. I did not do them. It is 6 o'clock. I have 2 hours to get it done. Is Jaden Reed better than Richardson? Jaden Reed's my guy. UCLA might not win a Big Ten game this year. That's possible, Dom. Rico about to launch a ball into South Carolina now. I can throw. Washington plays Rutgers. Oh, and you said 68? 63? Yeah, I like the over. How many games you have Illinois winning this year? Told you this summer they were being underappreciated. Eric, I don't remember, and I don't want to pull up the chart right now, but I don't remember. I owe you an answer. I think they're winning a lot of games. I haven't gone back and looked over the roster, or I'm sorry, the schedule, and tried to make a guess as to how many games they're going to end the season with. That really, there's really no value in that for me because there's no futures bet to make. It's already been made, and I just give week-to-week projections or predictions, so I don't really care. Like when you guys do that stuff, like you ask me a question, like, how many games you got to win this year? I don't really care, man. I'm focused on other things. Thoughts on Josh Allen? I think he chokes in the biggest moments. I don't really think about Josh Allen all that much. Not a big deal with me. All right. Let's get back to the chart, and then I'll get back to the chat. If you guys have any more questions, comments, concerns, whatever, put it in the chat. I'll get back to it after I talk about this. We're in the MAC now. Buffalo goes and shocks the world. They beat NIU. Sean Dolak comes back and has the game of his life. That's defensively Sean Dolak. Remember, this was the team's leading tackler last year, transferred in the offseason to Utah State for a semester, and then said, no, I'm going back. And he came back and he played his ass off. 19 tackles is insane. 4.5 tackles for loss. They really came into this game and said, we're not going to let Ontario Brown beat us. They stacked the box and said, we're gonna trust ourselves that Ethan Hampton can't beat us, and he couldn't. Ethan Hampton struggled to throw against this secondary. The secondary is good. They have Fuqua back here. If you guys don't know, where is Fuqua? Marcus Fuqua is an NFL caliber player, and with him leading the way, these guys figured it out and shut these boys down. It was awesome. Couldn't get anything going. Couldn't get it out there. You don't want 43 attempts if you're Northern Illinois. 43 attempts is dumb. That's not your offense. Your offense is Ontario Brown running the ball. And you get frustrated because they only had 3 yards of carry. You got to stick with it. You cannot start throwing it 43 times. You won't win. You won't win. CJ Agbana, not a real quarterback. I don't care what the stats say or anything. That dude's a liability with the ball in his hands. I keep seeing Messiah Birch get more and more playing time. He's the freshman that I said, true freshman, I said was going to have a breakout season, and here he is. Lamar Sperling took a step back this week. It's okay. They still found a way to win. But, man, I'm ready for Birch. A lot of fumbles, not good. Defensively, though, showed up to play. Northern Illinois got to be really disappointed with themselves. 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and they came out and laid an egg after beating Notre Dame. Too bad. A&M squeaked by and beat Bowling Green. Bowling Green, playing the big dogs. Bowling Green playing Penn State earlier in the year, now playing A&M, getting out of these games injury-free and looking the part. They actually looked really good. Remember, I told you this was going to be one of the top 4 teams in the MAC. They're really impressing me. Connor Bazelak is always good for an interception. The slipper's going to fall off his foot. He's not good enough to beat the Power 5 teams. But Connor Bazelak can win in the MAC. He can win in the MAC. Teron Stewart, starting running back, stud. Nowhere to run. Nothing to do here. That's unfortunate. Rakeem Smith. So Rakeem Smith, when I watched tape on him this offseason, I thought, man, this is a weird player. And I say that because he played at at Delaware State. The Hornet, the worst team, one of the worst teams in the FCS. The only team they beat was Vol, Virginia University of Lynchburg. So Rakeem Smith, kind of just a change of pace dude. Crafty little guy, and he got it done. Broke for 40-yard touchdown against A&M. I love that. I love that for him. Congratulations. But A&M reminds me a lot of Penn State 2 years ago. Remember when Penn State had 2 freshman running backs going for 1,000 yards. And they were just kind of this team that had dominant defense and a good run game. That's how A&M is. Marcel Reed's not the guy anymore. He's not quarterback number 1. They're going to go with, what's-his-face, Wegman coming back. But they still have Moss and Daniels here. Moss is so good, man. No receivers on this team whatsoever. I'm not impressed with any of them. I don't care who they are, what they're doing. I turn on the tape. I'm completely underwhelmed. And I know how good Jabri Barber is. I know. I'm underwhelmed by everything I see on tape. Defensively, Nick Scorton is him. Will Lee is him. Torian York is him. Just stud. And then Marcus Ratcliffe got an interception in this game. But studs everywhere. The defense is great. By the way, speaking about great, Harold Fannin Jr. leads the country among tight ends. He can get his numbers on anybody because Harold Fannin is going to be playing on Sundays. Because Harold Fannin is the man. Harold Fannin Jr. Used to wear number 48. They have him at number 0 here. That's your star. That's your star. You get a chance to bet on Harold Fannin Jr. to get his stuff. Kentucky's defense is great, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And shout out to Ohio. They did not cover the spread here. Kentucky covered the spread. Still didn't throw any touchdowns. Still can't find Barry and Brown, which is crazy. But they were out here. They were unable to run the ball. They were just, their defense gives them a short field. They're mean. And then they're starting Nick Polis. Nick Polis is 6'6", 235, and sneaky athletic. Sneaky athletic, Nick Polis. I think he's a statue. He's not that guy. But this team's offense is bad. Defense is pretty good, though. I know they gave them 41 points. They're pretty good on defense. They're competitive. You're not going to beat Kentucky. You're just not. Oh. Ball State covers the spread. Comes out here and throws the ball like crazy. The only thing that hurt Ball State, I went back and watched this game on Sunday. The only thing that hurt Ball State is Kyle Kelly is just dying to give the ball back. If you guys don't know Kyle Kelly was the starting quarterback of this team last year. And then this offseason, he hit the transfer portal, found no takers, came back, and then they moved him to defensive back. And now they're getting restless, and they're like, hey, we're going to put him back on offense and give him the ball and let him run a little bit. Dude's fumbling everywhere. Just trying to give the ball back. He sucks. Braden Sloan played great, running the ball. B.J. Harris finally comes through. You guys don't know B.J. Harris. That is a Missouri transfer from 2 years ago. So he's supposed to be really good. Miles Bailey, Marion Lukes, and B.J. Harris are the three running back monsters here that should be playing great. And as long as Joe Labus is not throwing interceptions, you think they win the game. And they won. This was a crazy game. 3 touchdowns in the final minute. We're watching it on the Discord server, and then I'm watching it live, and we're seeing them go back and forth, and we're just screaming. Because we didn't cover the spread, but more importantly, Ball State was not supposed to win the game, and then they were supposed to win it, and then, like, it's MAC. It's MAC action. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I'm watching it. This is bad football. Bad football. And what's the worst part about it is Central Michigan's secondary might be the worst in America. They really do. They really might be. EMU, I'm so impressed with this win. I didn't think they were going to win this dominant. I actually had St. Francis covering the spread. St. Francis beat Kent State. It's important you guys understand that. But they're starting to involve Deion Brown, my hidden gem from 2 years ago. I sounded like a moron because I said he was the hidden gem last year, and he didn't even play. Everybody's like, Rico, you know what you're talking about? Well, I was a year ahead of schedule. Cole Snyder didn't play in the fourth quarter. They let Jeremiah Salem play in this game. He played pretty decent. But this team is just boring. That's the word I'm going to use. Boring. Dominant and boring. Defense just doing their job. And I like boring. Never get bored of winning. But they're boring. They're boring. Western Kentucky, Toledo. Yeah, Toledo, same old Toledo. Gonna lay an egg. Gonna give up 14 fourth quarter points and lose the game in impressive fashion. We bet on Toledo, and I never bet on Toledo. I never believe in Toledo. There's nothing about him is special. Tucker Gleason's not a great quarterback. He's okay, but you don't want him starting. They were supposed to have DeQuan Finn still starting. Shout out to him on the bench at Baylor right now. But they fell apart. They fell apart. Their defensive front didn't get any pressure up front. You know this is a team that's going to throw the ball like crazy. 30 attempts, but even more than that because some of these were pass attempts, and they still weren't getting any sacks, pressures, hurries, nothing, man. Akron losing 50-7 to South Carolina is not a good look for Akron. That's the same way you lost to Ohio State. And the only difference is that's not Ohio State, okay? That's South Carolina. That's crazy. Robbie Ashford comes out and rushes for 133 yards. I got everybody writing me. Oh, what do you think now? What do you think about Robbie Ashford now? What do you think? Bro, I don't think about Robbie Ashford. Dude's a bench warmer to a freshman and only got to play in this game because of an injury, and you showed up to a MAC game with SEC teammates and you go ham. I'm not impressed with that shit. Oscar Attaway's a backup too. Oscar Attaway's a backup too, bro. They let the scrubs play in this game, and they still beat the hell out of Akron. Akron looks terrible. Can't run the ball to save their lives, averaging less than 2 yards a carry. Only dude they're throwing to is Adrian Norton, and that's unfortunate because this is a secondary that should have had Adams from LSU and should have had Josiah Gaithing. Josiah left to UConn to go sit the bench over there. It's just crazy how this team got real attrition on the offensive side of the ball, and their defense was supposed to be good. Guys like Brian McCoy, Antavius Fish, CJ Nunley IV. These are supposed to be all conference dudes. They're just getting molly-whopped, bro. You know what molly-whop means? My kids don't. Speaking of molly-whop, Miami of Ohio's offense sucks. Preseason all-conference quarterback Brett Gabbert out here just stinking it up. Yes, he's trying to throw against Notre Dame secondary. I understand. He's not any good. And he hasn't been good all year. I don't want to hear it. Mosey's supposed to be the running back, not really getting it done. And I'll say this, the offensive line is supposed to carry this team. They're good players on the offensive line. I evaluated them and thought they were one of the better group of 5 offensive linemen out there, but they're not any good. And I told you there's going to be regression at Miami of Ohio, and everybody flipped out on me. Oh my God, on Twitter, when I put out my MAC rankings, when I did the MAC episode on live, Week 0, and I talked about where I ranked Miami of Ohio in the MAC, talent-wise, dude attacked me in the comments. Oh, in what world is Bowling Green better than, or is Miami of Ohio better than Miami of Ohio and Ohio? You don't know what you're talking about. You know, all this shit. And I'm like, bro, they got nobody. Only semblance of offense is Cade McDonald, the Michigan State transfer. He's a big, tall, white kid, and he's always going to get his numbers. Believe in him. I would believe in him, especially when they get to the MAC. Look what he did against Notre Dame. Wait till they get to the MAC. That's a good player. All right, we're going to get in here, talk about the schedule and who they're playing. Buffalo and UConn, I wouldn't bet on this game. I would just watch it and learn. Everybody believes in UConn in this game. That's fine. Buffalo's playing lights out. Really impressed me against Northern Illinois. UConn does not have any quarterback play. Not good quarterback play. And if Buffalo can stack the box and stop Northern Illinois, they can stack the box and stop UConn's rushing attack. So if Nick Evers needs to be able to throw this ball, I don't trust him. I think that this is a crazy line. I think Buffalo can win this game. I really do. I obviously think they can cover the spread, but win the game. Northern Illinois, NC State, 2 disappointing teams off of disappointing performances. NC State, a 5.5-point favorite. I'll believe it when I see it, bro. Wouldn't bet on it in a million years. I'll believe it when I see it. They're giving JMU 20.5 points. I don't like it. I don't believe it. Ball State was crafty this past weekend, and JMU really... I mean, I know they put up 70 on North Carolina. I hate not believing in JMU this week. I think JMU can cover that spread. Won't talk about the Miami of Ohio UMass game. San Diego State, Central Michigan, won't talk about it. Western Michigan Marshall, not talking about it. And when I say not talking about it, that means it's an MVP level lock. If you want to know about it, I've already talked about it. I've talked about it in depth for MVPs on the early Week 5 video that was posted on Sunday or Monday. Sunday. Akron at Ohio. I believe that's an MVP level lock. If it's not, it should be, because I think Ohio can cover that spread. Eastern Michigan, Kent State, definitely a lock. And Bowling Green, Old Dominion, definitely a lock. And if you're wondering why I have so many locks in the MAC, it's because I believe Vegas just doesn't know the MAC very well. They don't know Group of 5 teams really well, so I make my predictions. Remember, if you want to be an MVP, get to Patreon, search RicoKnows, and you will win money. That's all there is to it. We're going to win money tonight. We're going to win money tonight. Real talk. Let's go back up here and see where the chat is. Can UCLA right the ship? Boom, 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 boom. Not much to say here. Not much to say. How many games? Thoughts? Do you think A&M should be ranked? No. I do not think A&M should be ranked. Kansas City Chiefs head coach said that he found Travis Still because of his love for Tuesday and Wednesday MAC action. You think a head coach at any level has time to watch midweek MAC action during the season? No, I think it's utter bullshit. Teams find players. The head coaches don't recruit players. The head coaches don't draft players. The teams have scouting departments. They hire 20 to 30 people. They hire third-party organizations to do scouting. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. That's a crock of shit. Believe me. That's ridiculous. What a dumb statement. That is like 20 games locks already. Luis Maria, I believe I have 25 locks this week. So, you know, do you, bro. Do you. Do me. I think I have 25 games already picked out for the MVPs. Sorry about that. Hit the wrong button. Hey, you guys, I got to get started on the Dana White Contender Series. I got 2 hours to break down the film and figure out who I'm going to pick for tonight's fights. I will see you guys on the Discord server if you're an MVP, and we will be live streaming the fights, my commentary, my breakdown, my live bet analysis, and I hope you guys win some money tonight. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it, everybody.